welcome to this next video. Today we're going to be talking all about ankle mobility, how much you need for running, what things can limit it, how you can fix those things. But first, quick disclaimer. So while I am a licensed doctor of physical therapy, I'm not your physical therapist, and therefore this video is intended for information only. It's not intended to diagnose, treat, prevent, or cure any injury or illness, and I highly recommend that you talk with your healthcare provider about starting any new exercise prior to, so they can make sure it's appropriate for you. All right, so ankle mobility. The ankle is a series of joints, and it can move in all three planes. So your ankle has motion in this plane, up and down. Also has motion in this plane, in and out. And it also has motion in this plane, rolling in and out. Today we're going to be focusing on this plane here, the sagittal plane, and primarily this motion here. So this is called dorsiflexion, where you bring your toes up towards your nose. And for this motion, 90 degrees is considered neutral. So this position here is considered neutral position. And then we're looking at how much motion you have from there up, toes towards your nose. So the ankle joints are designed to give you a total of 35 to 40 degrees of motion in that direction. So if we go back to geometry, you take this nice 90-degree angle and you split it in half. That's about 45 degrees. So you should be able to get your toes up to be about 45 degrees, just under that 45-degree line from your neutral position here. For running, you really only need about 25 degrees. So you only need to be able to get about a third of the way through that 90 degrees to have enough mobility for running. Now when we're running, that motion is primarily needed from the point of contact all the way through mid-stance as you're loading those joints. So basically what you're doing is you're stretching as you go into this movement here. You're stretching your calf Achilles complex, and it's storing energy so that when you move beyond that mid-stance and start going into push-off, it can return that energy like a giant rubber band and help give you a little up and forward push. So you need about 25 degrees. How do you know if you've got enough? And how do you know what's limiting the amount that you need? The easiest way to assess your ankle mobility is through a basic squat. So if you stand with your feet about shoulder distance width and toes pointed straight ahead, and you practice good form where you sit back in your hips and squat down, going as low as you feel like you can before your heels pop up off the floor. So go as low as you can. If you look at that angle here, so you want to see from your upright 90-degree angle, as you come down, how far can that joint move before it gets stuck? So I recommend using a mirror or videoing yourself on your phone so you can see how much excursion you have in that direction. Now if you get to about 30 degrees, great. Your ankles have plenty of mobility, probably not something you need to focus on. They may feel a little uncomfortable the first time you go down at that end range. Do a few squats, walk around a little bit, loosen things up, lubricate everything, try it again. If it feels more comfortable, great. You've probably got enough mobility, not something you need to be super concerned about. If you go to squat down and that joint just does not move, just gets stuck and either causes you to come up on your toes or lose your balance going backwards, then you might have an issue. So there's 3 different factors that can limit your ankle mobility, and Dicharry, whom I've mentioned before, does an awesome job of explaining and going into really good detail on what those 3 things are in both of his books, Anatomy for Runners and Running Rewired. So I highly recommend, if you want more information, that you look him up, find his books, and do some reading for yourself. But basically, those 3 issues would be your joint isn't moving the way it should, or your calf and Achilles complex is too tight, too short, or you have sticking spots in the connective tissues of your calf that aren't allowing the layers back there to slide and glide over top of each other. The way you tell the difference between those, so if you go to squat down, those joints get stuck and you feel a pinching on the front side of the joint, most likely that joint is stuck. So your ankle joint is designed kind of like this and this. So when you go to pull your toes up, that joint not only rolls up, if it only rolls, it's going to jam. It also has to slide down and back. So as it rolls, it slides down and back at the same time. If it doesn't slide, you get jammed and it gets pinchy. How do you fix that? You got to teach it to slide. So you can either go to a physical therapist and get them to jam on the joint and get things moving, or you can work on it yourself with a stiff strap. So not a stretchy band, a nice stiff strap. You can use anything from, Dicharry mentions a bike inner tube, or just any kind of non-stretchy fabric. So what I'm going to do, you want to loop it around your ankle joint. You want it to be low, so preferably underneath the bones on either side of your ankle. And then you can either tie the band around something behind you or pin it with your other foot, which is what I'm going to do. And once it's pinned, so it's got some tension on it, you're just going to lunge into that movement. And the strap is going to help encourage the gliding in the joint. So as you do this, you want to hold it for about 30 seconds to a minute. And you want to do it to where it's a little uncomfortable, but not super painful. And then you're going to want to do this at least 3 times a week until the pinching resolves and you've got better mobility through your ankles. So it may take up to 4 to 6 weeks. All right, so that's pinching in the front. Another thing that can limit that mobility, as I said, is tightness through the calf Achilles complex. So if you're coming down in your squat, it gets stuck, and you feel primarily pain or a strong pulling right at the back of the ankle, most likely that calf Achilles complex is too short. Now to fix that, there's a couple different techniques you can use. Both of them, however, have been shown to impair performance in sport following doing them. So both of these are recommended to be done after your run. Don't do either of these before your run and expect your run to feel good or be fast or be easy. So highly recommend you do these after. Also, both of these take about 4 to 6 weeks as well to demonstrate improvements. So be prepared to add this into your weekly routine for a while. So the first option is static stretching, just a basic good old-fashioned calf stretch. I like a standing one. Back foot needs to be pointing straight ahead, not toed out. And you just want to lunge in until you feel pulling through your calf and the back of your ankle. Now if you stretch with the back knee straight, you're going to primarily stretch the gastroc muscle. If you bend that knee slightly, you're going to stretch the soleus muscle. They both connect into the Achilles tendon, so at least check both of them out, see which one feels tighter. You can just stretch the one that feels tighter, but if you have time, highly recommend you do both. These you need to hold for at least a minute, do at least 3 times a week, like I said, for 4 to 6 weeks to notice a difference. And these are to be done after a run. The other option is eccentric heel raises. So for these, you would go up 2 feet, down 1 foot. And you would either use a dumbbell, a kettlebell, something for extra load. I also recommend you would do these on a step because just coming down to the floor only gets me to that 90-degree angle. If I'm tight beyond that, I need to be standing on a step or a box or a stool or a book, something, so my ankle can bend beyond that. So what you're going to want to do is go up with 2, pick up 1 foot, go down with 1, controlling that lower all the way down as far as you can go. It's going to be a little uncomfortable at the bottom. Put the other foot down, help it back up. You want to do these to fatigue, and you want to do these daily for 4 to 6 weeks. And again, you want to do them after your run. both of those cause little tears in the muscle, and the muscle then adds new segments to add length to the muscle, which is going to provide you that mobility. All right, the last option, if you go down into your squat, joint gets stuck, and you feel mostly tightness up through the calf itself, not down by the ankle, but up higher. Most likely what's going on is you've got some sticky spots, some adhesions between the connective tissue layers. And this is really common. This is actually something that should be happening if you're training for performance. If you're pushing your speed, you're doing some heavy hill workouts, you're doing some sprint repeats, really hard, intense, pushing yourself to the max kind of workouts. Those tissues start to break down. You're working them super, super hard. There's going to be some damage. As your body goes to heal that damage, it's going to lay down some scar tissue. And so those layers are going to get, of connective tissue, are going to get kind of stuck together. And instead of sliding past one another like they should, they're going to kind of pull in spots. And that's where you're going to get that tight feeling. So some recent research has shown that self-myofascial techniques, basically foam rolling techniques, are as good, if not better, than just stretching for this issue. So you can choose your weapon. You got a basic foam roller. I really like this guy here. I also like my dog's rubber ball. So it's something like a tennis ball, racket ball, something like that. Trigger point ball, tiger tail, whatever you like to use is perfectly fine. Technique does matter though. So what you want to do with this one, I'll go this way, is you're going to use your hands and your opposite foot to stabilize and lift up so you can grade how much weight is going down through the leg you're foam rolling. And you want to get all the way from the inside under that shin bone. Scooch a little bit so you can see. Down through there, and then rolls from there, roll your toes up to the ceiling and roll them slightly to the outside. So you can kind of work through that whole entire calf muscle and all of the connective tissue that surrounds it. Once you've done that a little bit and you've kind of found the spots that are the most tight and tender, you want to sit on that spot. I like to cross my other foot down for a little extra pressure. And then you're going to take your foot and you're going to pump it up and down. So you're just going to pump it this way. You can make circles. Basically what you're doing is you've made a pinch point, and now you're sliding those tissue layers up and through that pinch point, kind of ironing out those sticky spots. Once you've done that for a little bit, it's starting to feel a little less tight and tender. Hop on up, move on to another spot, and repeat. And you just spend several minutes working through the calf this way. Now the nice thing about this is research has shown that doing foam rolling techniques does not impair performance right after you do it. So this is something that can be done before or after your run, and it shouldn't affect your run. Do note that there is a nerve that runs under the outside belly of your calf muscle. So as you're rolling, if you're rolling on that outside and you come across a spot that zings down to your toes, nothing to be afraid of. You just roll over the nerve. It doesn't do anything harmful to the nerve, but it also doesn't do anything helpful. So just kind of adjust, get off it, and keep going. All right, for that one, research is, there's different ways it's been done. Kind of the consensus is as long as you do it about once a week, and just use it kind of when you need to target those tight areas following really hard bouts of exercise. That helps to keep those connective tissues sliding well, and it's not something that, we're not trying to lengthen a tissue where you got to wait weeks to see results. Should see results pretty quickly and be able to move on. All right, so that's all of them. References, as usual, will be posted in the notes section. And if you have any questions, comments, or another issue you'd like help with, head on over to the website, www.runhappierpt.com, and send me an email. I'd love to chat with you about whatever's going on. Thanks for watching.